3 weeks ago, you said yes. It was a Tuesday. The event was safely far away in the future. Saying yes cost you nothing. Now it's Friday, 6:40 in the evening. You're standing in your hallway with your coat already on and your hand resting on the door handle. And you would pay actual money, real, withdrawable money for one text message that says the whole thing is canceled. Here's what nobody tells you about that moment. It isn't weakness, it isn't rudeness, it isn't some social muscle you forgot to build. It's arithmetic. Somewhere underneath your awareness, your brain already ran the numbers on that room, and it came back with a price tag that's higher than the one on the invitation. And here's the uncomfortable part: your brain is right. You are not cold, you are not boring, you are not quietly failing at being a person. You're running a completely different piece of hardware than the people who keep asking why you never come out. And once you understand what that hardware actually does, that hand on the door handle is going to feel very different. Let's go through it. Most people's brains come with a doorman. They walk into a busy room and something at the entrance of their attention starts turning things away. You don't need the buzzing light. You don't need the woman arguing on the phone by the window. You don't need the smell of burnt coffee from the kitchen. 90% of the room gets stopped at the door and never makes it in. Your brain fired the doorman. Or more accurately, never hired one. Everything gets in. The conversation 2 tables over, the scrape of a chair leg, the exact half second where your friend's smile stopped being real, the song playing over the speakers which you're not hearing as a song, you're hearing the bass line, the vocal, the hi-hat, all as separate tracks all at once, like someone handed you a mixing board with every single fader pushed to maximum and then asked you to have a casual chat about someone's new job. Scientists have a name for this: sensory processing sensitivity, a nervous system with the intake turned all the way up. And research suggests around 20% of people are wired this way, 1 in 5, which means somewhere in that room, someone else is quietly drowning too. They've just gotten better at hiding it. But here's what makes it heavier. Your brain doesn't just receive all of that, it keeps it. That slightly odd thing your coworker said in March? Filed. Cross-referenced, pulled back out at 1 in the morning for review, alongside 17 other data points nobody else even noticed happening. That's not you being dramatic. That's a pattern recognition system doing precisely what it was built to do. And it was built for a reason. For most of human history, the person who noticed the branch that snapped when it shouldn't have that person's family survive the night, you are not too much. You are the reason someone made it to morning. The problem isn't your wiring. The problem is that we built a world of open-plan offices, shopping centers, and group chats, and then acted surprised when the smoke detectors kept going off. Let's clear something up, because people get this wrong constantly. You don't dislike people. You like people so much that the fake version is unbearable. In a crowded room, almost everyone is reading from a script. Yeah, been so busy, good busy though. No, we should definitely catch up soon. Oh my God, it's been forever. And underneath every one of those lines, there's a second conversation happening in posture, in eye contact, in the tiny delay before someone answers. Most people only hear the script. You hear both tracks. And they don't match. It's like watching a badly dubbed film where the mouths keep moving after the words have stopped and everyone else in the cinema seems perfectly fine with it. Psychologists tie this to high perceptual sensitivity. Emotional radar so precise that you end up as a lie detector. Nobody asked you to be working a shift you never signed up for. And there's research pointing the same direction. A study out of Cambridge found that people who genuinely prefer solitude tend to score higher on measures of emotional intelligence than people who chase constant social contact. Read that again. Not socially incompetent, socially overqualified. Which explains small talk perfectly. Everyone else treats it like a meal. To you, it's a photograph of a meal technically food-shaped, nutritionally nothing. Because your nervous system isn't built for puddles, it's built for wells. One conversation, going straight down, until you hit something true at the bottom. You'd trade 40 polite exchanges for one 3-hour talk in a parked car with the engine off. That's not avoidance. That's just knowing where the water is. Now here's where it stops being personality and starts being chemistry. When an extrovert walks into a loud, packed room, their dopamine system lights up. Dopamine is the brain's reward chemical, and for them, that environment is a payout every new face, every burst of noise, another small win. You walk into the same room, and your brain checks the machine and finds nothing. Not because you're joyless, because you're holding a different currency, and that room doesn't accept it. Introverted brains lean more heavily on acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that pays out for something else entirely. Depth, focus, turning inward, being alone without needing to justify it. So it isn't that nothing rewards you, it's that your rewards are stored somewhere else. A book at 11 at night with one lamp on, a walk where nobody needs anything from you. Standing at the kitchen counter, thinking about something nobody else in your life would find interesting, and feeling genuinely, quietly full. There's structure behind it too. Neuroscientists have found that introverted brains tend to have thicker gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, the region handling complex thought, planning, abstract reasoning. Which means when you look like you're doing nothing, you're running the most expensive process in the building. You're not idle. You're just working somewhere they can't see. You've had this happen. You walk into a house and within 4 seconds, you know something's wrong. Nobody said a word, everyone's smiling, and you already know. That's your mirror neurons, the system that lets us feel a fragment of what other people feel running at unusually high volume, which means you don't just notice emotion in a room, you pick it up. Like a tuning fork, you start ringing at whatever frequency is already in the air. So put yourself in a room with 200 people, and you're not managing your own emotional state. You're managing 201. Their tension, their impatience, the couple by the door who clearly argued in the car, none of it is yours. All of it lands on you anyway. And that's why 2 hours in a crowd costs you 3 days. It wasn't 2 hours of socializing. It was 2 hours of carrying luggage that belonged to strangers. But look at what that same wiring makes you capable of. You know when someone's "I'm fine" is load-bearing. You know which silence is comfortable and which one is a warning. You understand what people need before they've found the words for it. Most people are still trying to name their own feelings. You're fluent in everyone's. That's not a defect. That's a rare instrument. And rare instruments are always the most sensitive ones. We've built a culture that treats loud as successful and constant as fulfilled. Everywhere, all the time, with photographic evidence. And if you're not doing that, the assumption is that something in you is missing. But you found something early that a lot of people don't find until much later, usually after something in their life breaks. Quiet isn't emptiness. It's where thinking finally becomes possible. Solitude isn't loneliness. Loneliness is being unknown in a crowd. Solitude is being known by yourself. You're not missing out. You're opting out of a system that was never built for people who feel this precisely. And remember that mixing board, every fader jammed to the top? Being alone is the only place you get to pull them down, not to shut the world out, to finally hear one thing clearly. So the next time someone asks why you don't go out more, understand what's actually being asked. They're asking why you won't spend yourself down to nothing to be present in a room that was never designed for a mind like yours. You're not broken. You're not boring. You're not antisocial. You're a deep-water instrument in a world that only measures the surface. And that hand on the door handle on a Friday at 6:40 in the evening, you always thought it meant you were failing at going out. It never did. It just meant you already knew which side of the door your life was actually on. So tell me, when the group chat lights up on a Friday night, are you already halfway out the door or already halfway into a blanket? Put it in the comments. I read them. And if any of this hit a little too accurately, subscribe. The next video on screen covers a trait quiet people get criticized for constantly, and it turns out to be one of the strongest things about them.